The autumn in Hudson Valley, a small community in Massachusetts, was beautiful. The maple leaves had turned red and yellow, adding color to the old streetscape. Emily Hartman held her 2-month-old daughter Lily in her arms while gazing out the living room window. Being a first-time mother was more challenging than she had expected, but the joy of protecting and nurturing this small life was irreplaceable. "Good work today, honey." Her husband Michael's voice came from the entrance. As an architect, he had recently taken on a new residential project and was coming home late more often. Emily turned around and smiled at her husband, who looked tired. "Welcome home." Lily cried a lot today too, but she finally fell asleep just now. Michael sat down next to his wife on the sofa while taking off his shoes. 2-month-old Lily was breathing peacefully in Emily's arms. Her tiny clenched fists and the way she occasionally moved her mouth were adorable, and the couple watched quietly. "You're really doing such a wonderful job. I'll try harder to come home earlier." Michael placed his hand on his wife's shoulder and spoke gently. For the two who had loved each other deeply for 4 years of marriage, Lily's birth was the greatest joy of their lives. Just then, the doorbell rang. "Oh, that must be Mom." Emily looked at the clock. 6:30 in the evening. It was time for her mother Patricia to come help with dinner preparation. "Good evening, Patricia." When Michael opened the door, Patricia Wilson stood there with a bag of groceries. She had a background as a former nurse and had been visiting the Hartman household almost daily since her daughter gave birth. "Good evening, Michael. How's Emily doing?" "She's fine, of course. Thank you for everything." Patricia headed to the kitchen while calling out to Emily in the living room. "How's Lily doing?" "She seemed a bit feverish yesterday. Her temperature was normal today. Just as you worried, she seemed to have a slight cold yesterday." Emily was always impressed by her mother's keen observation skills. Her experience and knowledge as a former nurse were more reassuring than anything for her daughter who had become a mother for the first time. Patricia began preparing dinner with practiced ease. It was a nutritionally balanced menu of roasted chicken, mashed potatoes, and steamed vegetables. Nutrition is especially important while breastfeeding. You need to eat well. Thank you for always being so thoughtful, Mom. Emily was genuinely grateful for her mother's kindness. During the hectic days after childbirth, Patricia's presence was a blessing. She not only cooked meals but also gave advice about childcare and sometimes even rushed over when Lily cried in the middle of the night. "Mom, was work difficult today?" Michael asked while poking his head into the kitchen. Patricia worked part-time as a nurse at the local clinic. "Yes, it was busy today. But when I come here, I feel at ease. When I see Lily's face, my fatigue just disappears." Patricia turned around and gazed at Emily and Lily in the living room. Her expression held deep affection. When dinner was ready, the three gathered around the dining table. Lily slept quietly on Emily's lap. "This child is really so calm. It's unusual for a newborn," Patricia said while touching Lily's tiny hand with her finger. "That's right. At first, I was worried enough to be concerned. But you said it was normal." Emily smiled with relief. First-time parenting was full of anxieties, but having an experienced mother around resolved many worries. After the meal, Patricia picked up Lily in the living room. "Let me take a look. Is her diaper okay?" With practiced movements, she checked Lily's condition and changed her diaper as needed. Meanwhile, Emily and Michael were able to finish cleaning up. "Thank you so much, Mom. If you weren't here, we would have been in trouble." Emily spoke with heartfelt gratitude. "What are you saying? We're family, so it's natural. Besides, Lily is my first grandchild." Patricia continued holding Lily while smiling gently. Her expression mixed the deep affection of a grandmother with the sense of responsibility of a nurse. As the night deepened, the three spent quiet time together. Michael prepared for tomorrow's work, and Emily prepared for the next feeding. Patricia hummed a small lullaby while soothing Lily. Everyone believed this peaceful daily life would continue forever. When Lily was about to turn 3 months old, Emily was busy preparing to return to work. Her job at the marketing company required creativity, and returning to the workplace after 3 months of maternity leave was both anxiety-provoking and exciting. "You're returning next week, aren't you? Are you okay?" Patricia called out to Emily, who was spreading documents on the dining table while making coffee in the kitchen. Recently, she had been visiting the Hartman household even more frequently than before. Coming around 8 in the morning and staying until around 7 in the evening had become routine. "Honestly, I'm worried. It's the first time leaving Lily with someone," Emily answered while looking at daycare materials. She had toured several well-regarded local daycares but was still undecided. "Don't worry, it'll be fine. I'm here." Patricia sat at the table with her coffee cup. "But Mom, you have your work too, don't you? I asked to reduce my clinic work to 3 days a week. To take care of Lily." Emily was surprised. She hadn't expected her mother to go that far. "That's not right. I'm sorry your work is being affected." "What are you saying?" "It's for my grandchild. Besides, I've worked as a nurse for many years, so taking care of a baby is nothing new to me." Patricia spoke with a confident expression. Indeed, her efficiency when caring for Lily was remarkable. Just then, Michael came hurrying down the stairs. "Sorry, I'm going to be late. I have the final presentation for the new project today." He quickly drank his coffee and stuffed papers into his bag. "When do you think you'll be home?" Emily was worried about her husband's busyness. Recently, he had been appointed leader of a new residential development project and was coming home late more often. "I'll probably be late tonight too. Maybe around 10. "That's tough. But please take care of yourself." Patricia spoke kindly. Michael smiled gratefully and hurried out. After Michael left, Emily expressed her gratitude to her mother again. "Mom, thank you so much. Michael is busy too, and if you weren't here, it would have been terrible. We're family, so it's natural. Besides, Lily is a special child," Patricia said while looking up at Lily sleeping upstairs. A few days later, Emily continued touring daycares. However, no matter which facility she visited, her anxiety wouldn't disappear. They were clean and well-equipped, but her worry about leaving her child somewhere still wouldn't go away. "I'm still anxious about daycare." Emily consulted with Patricia after returning home. "Then I'll take care of her." "Wouldn't that be more reassuring than daycare?" Patricia's suggestion was attractive. If she could leave Lily with a trusted family member, nothing could be more reassuring. "But is that really okay? It would be a burden on you too." "It's fine. I'm looking forward to taking care of Lily. Besides, with my experience working as a nurse, I can handle anything that comes up." That night, Emily consulted with Michael. "Mom says she'll take care of Lily. What do you think?" "That would be helpful. Since Patricia is a nurse, it might be more reassuring than daycare." Michael answered with a tired expression. He felt sorry that he couldn't spend enough time with his family due to his recent busyness. The following week, Emily returned to work. The work after such a long time was stimulating, but she couldn't stop worrying about Lily. When she called home during lunch break, Patricia answered. "How's Lily?" "She's being a very good girl. She's sleeping quietly right now." Patricia's voice was calm and reassuring. "Didn't she cry?" "She cried a little, but she calmed down right away. She seems to feel secure when I'm here." After returning home, Emily checked on Lily's condition. Indeed, her daughter was sleeping peacefully. She was so quiet that Emily sometimes worried whether she was breathing. She hardly cried all day today. Patricia reported proudly. That's unusual. She usually cries more. Emily found it a bit strange. Lily seemed to have been more active usually. Babies have personalities too. She feels secure when she's with me. Patricia's explanation seemed reasonable. However, as days passed, Emily began to feel a small sense of unease. Lily became unusually quiet only when she was with Patricia. When Emily came home, her daughter was often sleeping, and it seemed like her waking hours had decreased. Lily seems to sleep a lot more lately. Emily spoke to Michael one night. Isn't that a good thing? You can rest too. Michael answered, looking exhausted. His work as the project leader was more difficult than he had imagined, and not being able to spend enough time with his family was becoming a burden. But I'm a little worried. She used to be awake more before. Sleep patterns change as they grow. Patricia says it's normal. Emily nodded at Michael's words, but a small question swirled in the back of her mind. Meanwhile, Patricia felt deep joy in taking care of Lily. However, complex emotions were also budding within her. Sometimes she would just stare intently while holding Lily. This child is really beautiful. Patricia murmured as if talking to herself. While gazing at Lily's small face, she was thinking about something. 2 weeks after Emily's return to work, the couple's conversations had become less frequent than before. Michael came home late, and Emily was tired from balancing childcare and work. Patricia's help was certainly appreciated, but somehow they weren't able to have the family time they used to. We haven't had much time to talk lately. Emily spoke to her husband one night while getting into bed. That's true. But I think this is temporary. Once the project settles down, I'll be able to make more time. Michael said while holding his wife's hand. However, fatigue was deeply apparent in his expression. That night, Emily couldn't sleep. When she peeked into Lily's bedroom, her daughter was sleeping deeply. She was so quiet that Emily listened carefully to confirm her breathing. The small sense of unease was growing day by day, but Emily couldn't put it into clear words. On a cold November afternoon, Emily was able to finish work early for the first time in a while. The planning meeting for a new campaign ended earlier than scheduled, and she was able to leave the company at 3 o'clock. Wanting to spend more time with Lily, she bought ingredients for dinner at the nearby supermarket and headed home. When she opened the front door, Patricia's shoes were neatly arranged as usual. Silence drifted from the living room, and no television sound could be heard. "Mom, I'm home," Emily called out while putting the shopping bags in the kitchen. There was no response. When she headed to the living room, a peaceful scene spread before her. Patricia was sitting on the sofa, holding Lily in her arms. The afternoon sunlight streamed through the window, gently illuminating the two. It was a beautiful grandmother and grandchild scene like a painting. "Good work, Mom," Emily spoke in a small voice. Lily seemed to be sleeping. "Oh, Emily. You're early today." Patricia turned around, but her expression seemed a bit more tired than usual. The meeting ended early. How was Lily? She was a little cranky today. But she just became quiet now. Patricia looked down at Lily in her arms. Indeed, her daughter seemed to be sleeping deeply. Emily sat next to the sofa and peered at her daughter's face. Lily's cheeks were a bit red, and her breathing was deep. Does she have a fever? She might be a little warm. But I don't think it's anything to worry about. Patricia answered with a practiced manner. She had confidence from her experience as a nurse. Emily placed her hand on her daughter's forehead. It was indeed a bit warm, but not enough to be called a fever. Relieved, she headed to the kitchen. "I'll make dinner today. You stay with Lily." "Thank you. That's helpful." Emily began boiling pasta in the kitchen. She was happy to cook for her family after such a long time. Recently, she had been too busy and had left most of the housework to her mother. About 15 minutes later, a small sound came from the living room. When she turned around, Patricia seemed to be soothing Lily. "Is everything okay?" Emily headed to the living room while wiping her hands. "She just woke up. But I think she'll go back to sleep soon." Patricia was gently rocking Lily. However, to Emily's eyes, her daughter looked a bit cranky. "Let me hold her." Emily reached out, but Patricia shook her head. "It's okay. She'll be quiet when I'm here." Indeed, Lily was becoming quiet again in Patricia's arms. Emily returned to the kitchen but felt somewhat uneasy. About 10 minutes later, there was suddenly a loud sound from the living room. It sounded like glass breaking. "Mom!" Emily rushed into the living room. The scene she witnessed there would completely change her world. Patricia remained sitting on the sofa with a terrifyingly calm expression. And in her arms, Lily was shaking violently. Her small body trembled as if convulsing, and her eyes had rolled back. A glass of water lay shattered and scattered on the floor. "Lily!" Emily screamed and rushed to her daughter. However, Patricia wouldn't hand her over. "Mom, what happened? What did you do to Lily?" Emily's voice was trembling. Her daughter's convulsions wouldn't stop, and her small lips were turning pale blue. She wouldn't stop crying, so I just helped her be quiet. Patricia's voice was eerily calm. Her tone was as if nothing had happened. "What do you mean by quiet? Mom, what did you do?" Emily tried to snatch her daughter away, but Patricia wouldn't let go. "Emily, calm down. I'm a nurse. I know what needs to be done. I can't stay calm. Not when Lily is in this condition." Emily took her daughter. Lily's body continued to tremble in small convulsions, and her breathing had become shallow. "I have to call an ambulance." Emily took out her cell phone with shaking hands. 911. "My daughter is having convulsions. Please come immediately." Following the operator's instructions, Emily described Lily's condition. She gave the address and waited for the ambulance to arrive. "How long have the convulsions been continuing?" the operator asked. "I think 2 or 3 minutes. But I'm not sure exactly." Emily answered while holding her daughter. Lily's trembling was gradually weakening, but she hadn't regained consciousness yet. Patricia remained sitting on the sofa, watching her daughter and grandchild with an expressionless face. Her calmness gave Emily even more fear. "Mom, what did you really do?" Emily asked again. However, Patricia didn't answer. The ambulance siren could be heard from far away. Emily headed to the entrance and met the paramedics. "She's here. My daughter suddenly started having convulsions." The paramedics quickly checked Lily's condition and fitted her with an oxygen mask. They measured her vital signs and placed her daughter on a stretcher. "We'll transport her to the hospital. Please come with us." Emily got into the ambulance. Patricia followed. Inside the ambulance, Emily held her daughter's hand tightly. Lily's convulsions had stopped, but she hadn't regained consciousness yet. "Please tell me in detail what symptoms appeared," the paramedic asked Emily. She suddenly started shaking, and her eyes rolled back. It continued for 2 or 3 minutes. "Were there any unusual signs before that?" Emily looked back at her mother. Patricia was staring out the window with an expressionless face. "Nothing in particular. She was sleeping normally." The paramedic checked Lily's pupils and measured her vital signs again. "Let's do detailed tests at the hospital. She's stable now." The ambulance arrived at the hospital. Lily was taken to the emergency room, and doctors quickly began examinations. Emily and Patricia waited in the waiting room for results. It's okay, Emily. I'm sure it's nothing serious. Patricia placed her hand on her daughter's shoulder. However, that hand was cold. 30 minutes later, a doctor came to the waiting room. His expression was serious. Are you Mrs. Hartman? I'd like to discuss the results of your daughter's blood test. The doctor's voice was grave, and Emily's heart pounded violently. Is there a problem? We detected drug components in her blood that wouldn't normally be expected. I'd like to give you a detailed explanation, preferably with family members present. Emily answered in a trembling voice. Drugs? What do you mean? The doctor didn't change his serious expression. We detected sleeping medication components in an amount that would be dangerous even for an adult. The doctor's words echoed in Emily's head over and over. Unable to believe this reality, she collapsed into a chair. That can't be. How could a baby have sleeping medication? Emily's voice was shaking. Patricia, sitting next to her, remained expressionless as before. We need to contact the police. This clearly has criminal implications. The doctor continued with a serious expression. Fortunately, your daughter is out of danger thanks to prompt treatment. However, this amount of sleeping medication entering an infant's body cannot occur naturally. Emily felt her knees shaking. Who would do such a thing to her daughter, and why? 30 minutes later, 2 police officers came to the hospital. One was a middle-aged male detective, the other a young female officer. Mrs. Hartman. We'd like to ask some questions about your daughter's case. The male detective spoke in a polite tone. Who was with your daughter today? My mother and I. My mother had been taking care of her since morning. Emily answered in a trembling voice. That would be Patricia Wilson. The detective turned to Patricia. How was your granddaughter's condition throughout the day? Normal. She was a little cranky at times, but nothing unusual. Patricia answered in a calm voice. Her composure seemed unnatural to Emily. Do you take or store sleeping medication? No, I don't have anything like that. Patricia shook her head. Then there's a possibility that someone intentionally gave your granddaughter drugs. The detective's words sent chills down Emily's spine. While the questioning continued, Emily contacted Michael. He said he would rush to the hospital. An hour later, Michael arrived at the hospital. His face was pale and he was out of breath. Emily, is Lily okay? She's stable now, but sleeping medication was detected in her blood. Emily explained the situation to her husband. Michael looked incredulous. That's impossible. Who would do such a thing? Michael sat down heavily in a waiting room chair. Then he held Patricia's hand. It's okay, Pat. It must be some mistake. In that moment, Emily froze. Pat. Emily stared at her husband. You've never called Mom that before, have you? Michael's face went pale for a moment. No, this is. He began trying to make excuses in confusion, but then something fell from Patricia's handbag to the floor. What rolled with a small sound was a car key. Emily picked it up. The keychain had an architectural company logo that she recognized. This is a keychain from Michael's company, isn't it? Emily held up the key with trembling hands. Why does Mom have Michael's spare key? Silence fell. Michael and Patricia's gazes intertwined. In that moment, Emily sensed the subtle atmosphere flowing between them. Intimacy. It was something that went beyond an in-law relationship. How long? Emily's voice was barely a whisper. How long ago? Michael's face turned completely pale. Emily, it's not what you think. Answer me. Emily's voice gradually grew louder. How long ago did you two? At that moment, Patricia suddenly stood up. An intense emotion she had never shown before appeared on her face. That child isn't my grandchild anyway. Patricia's voice echoed through the hospital corridor. Patricia, stop it. Michael desperately tried to stop her. I waited 10 years. I've loved you for 10 years, and it's cruel that the child looks just like you. Patricia's words cut deeply into Emily's heart. 10 years. Emily stared at her husband. Since before we got married. Michael collapsed into a chair. I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. His voice was shaking. At first, it was before I met you. I met Patricia by chance. It wasn't by chance. Patricia interrupted. I found you. A young, talented architect. My ideal man. Emily couldn't stand up. Even after we got married. I wanted to stop. I tried to end it many times. Michael continued while crying. But Patricia wouldn't let me go. When you got pregnant, I was really happy. I thought I could start fresh. But I was convinced that child was Michael's. Patricia's eyes were crazed. When I calculated the timing of pregnancy, I was sure it was Michael's child. But when she was born, the child looked just like you. No way. Michael trembled with fear. No way, for that reason. If it's not mine, I don't want it. Patricia's words were cruel. So I just helped her be quiet. Quiet forever. Emily screamed. Security guards and detectives rushed over and restrained Patricia. Stop, let me go. I didn't do anything wrong. Patricia resisted but was handcuffed. Emily sat down on the floor and sobbed. Michael tried to approach her, but Emily pushed his hand away. Don't touch me. Emily, please. Listen to me. There's nothing to talk about. Emily stood up and stared at her husband. Because of you too, Lily almost died. That night, an emergency DNA test was performed at the hospital. The results came out the next afternoon. Michael Hartman is the father. The doctor's report gave Emily mixed feelings. Along with relief, deep sadness dominated her heart. Biologically, Lily was indeed Michael's daughter. However, she had been put in mortal danger by Patricia's crazed love and jealousy. Patricia was charged with attempted murder. She sat blankly in the detention center. She was faced with the ironic reality that the grandchild she had believed to be the child of the man she had loved for 10 years actually was. Emily couldn't face her husband. In the hospital waiting room, she decided on divorce. Trust had completely crumbled. 3 months later, Patricia Wilson was sentenced in court. 15 years for attempted murder. She never once looked at Emily in the courtroom. Michael also appeared as a witness, but Patricia didn't look at him either. 10 years of twisted love had completely cooled. Lily made a miraculous complete recovery. Doctors had initially been concerned about brain effects, but detailed tests revealed no after effects whatsoever. At 5 months old, her daughter was growing more actively and healthily than before. Emily and Michael's divorce proceedings moved quickly. Michael gave up custody and agreed to pay child support. He was tormented by deep regret and guilt, but Emily would not forgive him. Can't we start over? Michael pleaded with Emily at the entrance on the day he came to pick up his last belongings. It's impossible. You don't understand what Lily went through. Emily answered coldly. Because of your affair, my daughter almost died. That's a fact. Michael couldn't say anything. Everything was the result of his actions. 1 month after the divorce was finalized, Emily made a decision. She would leave Hudson Valley and move to a small town on the West Coast. She wanted to start a new life with just Lily and herself. She also quit the marketing company and decided to work as a freelance consultant. With location-independent work, she thought she could spend more time with her daughter. On moving day, Emily applied for one last visit to Patricia. However, Patricia refused the meeting. According to the guard, she wouldn't meet with anyone and just spent time in her cell. She doesn't talk to anyone. It's like her heart has died. Hearing the guard's words, Emily felt complex emotions. Along with hatred, she also felt pity. Emily and Lily's new life began in Seaside, a small coastal town in Oregon. They rented a small apartment with a view of the ocean and lived quiet days. The neighbors were warm and loved Lily. Especially the elderly couple next door, Tom and Mary, loved Lily like real grandparents. "This child is really like an angel." Mary smiled while holding Lily. Emily felt the warmth of a real family. A year later, Emily began volunteering for child-rearing support at the local community center. It was an activity to support women struggling as single mothers like herself. Family isn't just about blood relations. One day, Emily spoke to a fellow volunteer. "What's really important is caring for each other and protecting each other." Lily turned to and began walking around actively. While watching her daughter play in the sand at the beach, Emily reflected on the past. 2 years had passed since that terrible night. Patricia was still in prison. Letters occasionally arrived from Michael asking about Lily's condition, but Emily didn't write back. "Mommy, look." Lily showed her a small seashell she had picked up. Seeing that innocent smile, Emily smiled from her heart. Emily had learned that true family wasn't about blood relations or legal relationships, but was bound together by love, trust, and the feeling of protecting each other. The small family of Lily and herself was perfect. As the sun set over the ocean, mother and daughter held hands and headed home. Past wounds had healed, and a future full of hope awaited them.